The 1983 film The Thorny Birds left a lasting impression on audiences with its forbidden love story and poignant family drama set in rural Australia. However, a devastating tragedy lies behind this masterpiece. Barbara Stanwyck, Richard Chamberlain, Gene Simmons, and many other actors lost their lives in tragic accidents stemming from drug addiction and undeniable personal secrets. Barbara Stanwyck as Mary Carson. Born Ruby Catherine Stevens on July 16, 1907, Barbara Stanwyck was 76 years old when she portrayed Mary Carson in the 1983 film The Thorn Birds. A powerful, jealous, and suffering woman. With her icy gaze and commanding voice, Stanwyck imbued Mary Carson with a chilling depth. A wealthy woman ready to manipulate the fate of others to protect a love that is not her own. However, Barbara Stanwyck's life was as dark as her iconic roles. When she was just 4 years old, she lost her mother in a horrific streetcar accident. Soon after, her father abandoned the family, separating young Ruby from her brother. Her brother subsequently lived with various foster families. Her childhood, marked by poverty, loneliness, and a lack of love and security, had built an impenetrable wall around her soul. At 15, she had a last-minute abortion and remained childless, a secret she never openly admitted, but which manifested itself in her coldness and distance towards her only adopted son. In 1928, she married Frank Fay, an actor and former stage star whose fame had rapidly declined after moving to Hollywood. Meanwhile, Stanwyck achieved great success in films such as Frank Capra's Ladies of Leisure, 1930. This success became a real problem for Fay. Under the influence of alcohol, outbursts of anger, jealousy, attacks, and insults became frequent. After 7 years of personal heartbreak, the marriage ended, leaving behind deep emotional wounds and her adopted son, Anthony Dion. Stanwyck distanced herself from her son, feeling abandoned by the world. A few years later, she began a relationship with rising star Robert Taylor, whose film career she helped launch. In 1939, they married in a simple ceremony arranged by MGM to please the public. For Stanwyck, this was not a burning passion, but a deep bond between two lonely, loving souls. But even this love was short-lived. After World War II, Taylor wanted to withdraw from public life, but Stanwyck could not stop her. They divorced in 1950. She never remarried and told her friends that he was the man she loved most in her life. Following her divorce, Stanwyck continued her acting career with an undiminished passion, and her most notable role was the leading role in the classic film noir Double Indemnity, 1944. However, fame and glory never satisfied him. He spent the last years of his life alone, away from Hollywood and the spotlight. In 1982, during the filming of The Thorny Birds, he inhaled smoke from special effects equipment, which led to bronchitis. His smoking habit, which had continued since the age of 9, further aggravated the condition. That same year, her Beverly Hills home was burglarized. The burglar brutally beat her and stole $40,000 worth of jewelry. This event deeply shattered her self-esteem. Barbara Stanwyck died on January 20th, 1990, at the age of 82, from heart failure due to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. At the time of her death, her fortune was estimated to be approximately $10 million, largely derived from investments in film, television, and real estate. Richard Chamberlain as Father Ralph de Bricassar. Richard Chamberlain was born on March 31, 1934. In the film Birds of Thorns, 1983, he portrayed the charming and influential 48-year-old Father Ralph de Bricassar, torn between dreams of love and career. But behind this noble and complex image lay Chamberlain's personal suffering, which he had kept hidden for decades. Since the 1960s, after achieving national fame for his role as Dr. James Kildare in the television series of the same name, Richard Chamberlain has led a double life. On the one hand, he is the ideal man admired by millions of women, while on the other hand, he is a gay man. He loved secretly, in fear, and was constantly plagued by guilt for denying his true nature. Even at the height of his fame, during the filming of The Shogun, 1980, Chamberlain frequently isolated himself and suffered from insomnia. He feared that the slightest mistake would cost him everything. Also in the 1980s, while preparing for the role of Reverend Ralph, a character he loved but could not love, he experienced a personal crisis in his relationship with actor Martin Rabbit. They had been living secretly together in Hawaii since 1977, but couldn't openly acknowledge their homosexuality. The chasm between his real life and the idealized roles he envisioned sometimes made him feel like he no longer knew who he was. This pressure intensified over time and led to depression. He only addressed this issue years later, in his memoir Broken Love, published in 2003, where he first came out as gay. However, making the relationship public did not necessarily ease tensions. After publishing his memoirs, Chamberlain received great praise, but he also lost the support of many loyal fans. His relationship with Rabbit also deteriorated significantly. In 2000, they officially divorced, not due to a lack of love, but due to unresolved disagreements. Richard Chamberlain died of a stroke at his home in Waimanalo, Hawaii, on March 29, 2025, 2 days before his 91st birthday. A childless bachelor, Chamberlain passed away peacefully after spending the final years of his life with his former partner. His estimated net worth is $20 million, accumulated through 60 years of artistic activity ranging from Dr. Kildare to Thorn Birds, as well as modest real estate investments in Hawaii. Jean Simmons as Fiona Fee Cleary. Jean Marilyn Simmons was born on January 31, 1929. She was 54 years old when she portrayed Fiona Fee Cleary, a grieving mother quietly facing a series of family tragedies, in the film The Thorn Birds, 1983. This was not just a television role, but also an expression of silent wounds that had plagued Jean for years. Jean Simmons quickly rose to fame in England thanks to his delicate beauty and aristocratic nature. At just 21 years old, he was nominated for an Oscar for his performance in Hamlet, 1948, in which he starred alongside Laurence Olivier. While her career shone on the silver screen, her private life was shrouded in mystery. After settling in the United States in 1950, Jean married actor Stuart Granger, who was 16 years older than her and extremely jealous and possessive. This stifling marriage lasted 8 years, during which time Jean was forced to turn down many important roles and lived in the shadow of her husband's career. "I didn't play a leading role in that decade," he said in an interview. After divorcing Granger, Jean married director Richard Brooks, who gave him a memorable role as a former prostitute in the film Elmer Gantry, 1960. But even a second marriage couldn't prevent old wounds from reopening. Brooks was a perfectionist and emotionally distant, often absent, leaving Jean alone in what should have been their home. In the 1970s, as their daughters reached adolescence and their marriage began to crumble, Jean quietly turned to alcohol, not as an addict, but as a weary woman seeking solace. Although she continued to appear in films such as Mr. Budwing, 1966, and The Happy Ending, 1969, her once bright eyes now bore the scars of silent wounds. He later retired from show business and settled in Santa Monica after appearing only a few times, most notably in Star Trek The Next Generation, 1991. He died of lung cancer on January 22, 2010, 9 days before his 181st birthday. His fortune is estimated at $9 million. While less than some of his Hollywood colleagues, it was enough to provide him with a comfortable retirement. Rachel Ward as Meggie Cleary. Rachel Ward was born on the 12th of September 1957 into an English noble family, a descendant of the Earl of Dudley, and grew up in the luxurious setting of Oxfordshire. She was only 26 years old when she landed the role of Meggie Cleary in the 1983 film The Thorn Birds. And this role, in which a woman has a forbidden affair with a priest, not only brought her international fame, but also marked a turning point in her career and personal life. On the film set, she met her co-star Brian Brown, and a delicate yet enduring love affair began that lasted over 40 years. Following the huge success of The Thorn Birds, Rachel Ward suddenly found herself in the spotlight, which she says surprised her. Hollywood began to see her simply as a pretty face, and this label hindered her creativity. After Against All Odds, 1984, in which she starred alongside Jeff Bridges, despite their undeniable on-screen chemistry, Ward felt increasingly isolated from American cinema. She decided to take a break to study theater. This choice was not a retreat, but a deep period of reflection on her artistic identity. In 1987, she returned to cinema with the film The Lady with the Parasol and reunited with Brian Brown, who would later become her husband. Rachel Ward, while a significant figure in Australian cinema and a cult name in the United States, chose a more ambitious path by leaving the security of acting behind and pursuing a directing career. Her 2009 film Beautiful Kate, which she wrote and directed, explores the complexities of a family with troubled sexual relationships. The film garnered significant attention, but was also praised for its emotional depth. Ward's bold decision created immense pressure on the media and public, many of whom struggled to reconcile the image of the beloved Maggie character with that of a daring filmmaker. While Ward avoided major scandals and personal tragedies, she acknowledges that her career was defined by the need to meet public expectations while maintaining complete creative freedom. Internal pressure, audience fatigue, and the unpredictability of her art frequently led to moments of uncertainty. Her preference for a quiet, secluded life and her commitment to independent films allowed her to both pursue her artistic career and maintain her family's happiness. In 2025, Rachel Ward was 68 years old. She lived in Australia with Brian Brown and continued to work in the film industry, sometimes as a director and sometimes as a consultant. Her estimated net worth is around $10 million, and this stems partly from her acting and directing career, but primarily from her long-term marriage to Brian Brown, a rare and remarkable union in the entertainment world, born from a memorable brief encounter between Maggie and Luke on a film set. The tragedies and deaths of these stars leave a huge void in the hearts of their fans, poignantly reminding them of the fragility of life away from the spotlight. Which story affected you the most? Share your thoughts and explore the hidden lives of celebrities in our upcoming articles. Christopher Plummer plays Archbishop Vittorio de Contini Vercese. Christopher Plummer was born on December 13, 1929. In 1983, at the age of 53, he portrayed Archbishop Vittorio de Contini Vercese in the film Birds of Thorns, displaying an air of authority, distance, and wisdom that only the hardships of time and life could confer. Born into an aristocratic Canadian family but raised without a father, Plummer cultivated a quiet solitude throughout his life, concealing it behind a serene smile and a piercing gaze. His childhood was filled with rebellion, drunken nights, and theatrical performances that masked the pain in his soul. His first marriage to actress Tammy Grimes lasted only a few years, and he deeply felt her absence during his daughter Amanda Plummer's teenage years. Although their relationship strengthened over time, the distance between them never completely disappeared. Despite personal setbacks, Plummer's career continued to progress steadily, though not always as he had hoped. In 1965, he played Captain Von Trapp in The Sound of Music, a role that brought him worldwide fame but also aroused a revulsion against the flamboyant image he openly detested. He earned the nickname Slime Sound at the time, a bitter rejection of success that would define him from that point on. Years later, perhaps in search of artistic catharsis, he returned to the stage with boundless enthusiasm. However, it was this devotion that alienated him from those who loved him most. Plummer's love life was tumultuous but never hopeless. Following an unsuccessful first marriage, he married former actress Elaine Taylor in 1970. Their relationship lasted until his death, providing him with quiet and constant solace in his grief. He portrayed powerful characters in roles such as The Insider, 1000, 999, or Tolstoy in The Last Station, 2009. Confronting his own past and expressing his experiences, pride, and regret in every glance, every breath. Christopher Plummer died on February 5, 2021, at his home in New York City, as a result of a fall that caused a serious head injury. He was 91 years old. His estate is estimated at $20 million, a figure that cannot fully express the emotional impact of the legacy he left behind after more than 70 years of service to society. He maintained the elegance of a classic gentleman to the very end, a man who worked both in the public sphere and behind the scenes, never compromising the dignity with which he lived. Piper Laurie was born on January 22, 1932, and was 51 years old when she played Anne Mueller in The Thorn Birds. Her portrayal of Maggie's loyal confidant, a woman who calmly and resolutely manages the Dragotta estate while concealing her emotional wounds, reflected the struggles and trials Piper faced in her own life, far from the glitz and glamour of fame. Born Rosetta Jacobs to a Jewish immigrant family, Piper Laurie had a quiet and introverted childhood. Her family sent her to a sanatorium with her asthmatic sister, which emotionally isolated her throughout her childhood. This loneliness made her so shy that she had to take weekly singing lessons to overcome her fear of public speaking. When she arrived in Hollywood at 17, Universal transformed her into a commercially appealing character, an innocent and dreamy young girl entirely created by the studio's public relations machine. Disappointed by this artificial image, the actress left Hollywood and sought authenticity on Broadway and in television productions, most notably in the play Day of Wine and Roses, which premiered in 1958. Her marriage to Joe Morgenstern lasted from 1962 to 1982. During this time, they lived a seemingly ideal life in Woodstock, New York. In 1971, they adopted a daughter, but their marriage ended in divorce 20 years later. Following the huge success of The Miracle Worker, 1961, Piper Laurie's career stalled, and she became depressed. She starred alongside Paul Newman in the film and earned her first Oscar nomination. Feeling overwhelmed by Hollywood, Piper Laurie only revived her career with the role of the fanatical mother Margaret White in Carrie, 1976, earning her a second Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Despite receiving praise for her complex and poignant roles, such as the stern teacher in Children Less Than God, 1986, for which she received her third Oscar nomination, Piper Laurie never truly felt at home in Hollywood. She found peace in sculpture and performing arts. Following her divorce, she lived alone in California, as intensely as the characters she frequently portrayed. In her memoirs, she said that even years after her divorce, she continued to dream of the family she never had. Piper Laurie died in Los Angeles on October 14, 2023, at the age of 91. Her family did not release an official cause of death, but close friends said her health had deteriorated in the final months of her life. Despite quietly withdrawing from public life, she left behind an impressive artistic legacy and an estimated fortune of $4 million. She was much more than just a number, an example of resilience, innovation in the face of grief, and an unwavering commitment to her art. Richard Venture as Harry Goff. Richard Venture was born on November 11, 1923. He was 60 years old when he played Harry Goff, a cunning and mysterious lawyer who guards legal secrets regarding Mary Carson's vast estate and will in the 1983 film The Thorn Birds. His role is brief but very important, because Goff's actions, thanks to the mischievous items Mary left behind, help unravel the mysteries of Meggie and Reverend Ralph's tragic fate. Richard Venture's life was far more peaceful than the character he portrayed. Born in New York, Richard served in the U.S. Navy during World War II before making his Broadway debut in 1951 in the play Dinosaur Wharf. The discipline of war, the hardships of the post-war period, and years of tireless work had wrought a rare calmness in him. Audiences often noticed this in his serene and self-assured voice and gaze. After leaving the military, Venture built a career filled with supporting roles. Although not a sex symbol, he became a recognizable face thanks to dozens of films and television series from the 1960s to the early 2000s. One of his most memorable roles was in All the President's Men, 1976, where, although not a leading role, he brought nuance and depth to the character. Around the same time, his first marriage to Grace Grant, which lasted from 1946 to 1971, ended in divorce after the birth of their 4 children. In 1971, he married the renowned African-American actress Olivia Cole, and that same year his television series Roots achieved great success. Their interracial marriage was considered a courageous decision in a society that remained deeply racist. However, 13 years later, the couple divorced. Friends believed the divorce was partly due to their intense commitment to their careers, and partly due to Venture's introverted personality, which made emotional intimacy difficult. He later married 2 more times, and his last wife, Catherine Catalano, remained by his side until his death. Richard Venture died on December 19, 2017, at the age of 94, at his home in Chester, Connecticut. His death was attributed to natural causes and advanced age. 31 days later, his ex-wife, Olivia Cole, also passed away, bringing a little-known chapter of their life together to a tragic end. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at $1 million. This modest sum is a testament to an honest life and hard work by a man who consciously chose to live out of the public eye. Richard Kiley as Paddy Cleary. Richard Paul Kiley was born on March 31, 1922, in Chicago to an Irish Catholic family. In 1983, at the age of 61, he portrayed Paddy Cleary in The Thorn Birds, and delivering a deeply touching performance as a loving and humble father, grappling with the same inner turmoil that also affected his own private life. Unlike many stars who succumbed to the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, Kiley chose a quieter, more challenging path. Broadway. But this devotion came at a price, a quiet, personal sacrifice. He survived his first marriage and subsequent divorce after having 6 children, a financial and emotional ordeal he rarely spoke of publicly. Even after winning his first Tony Award in 1959 for Redhead and in 1966 for Man of La Mancha, and moving audiences to tears with The Impossible Dream. He carried the lonely burden of being a father living abroad behind the scenes. Kiley was known not for his flashy films, but for his deep, introspective, and sometimes devastating performances. In The Blackboard Forest, 1955, he played a kind-hearted teacher grappling with school violence, and in The Thorny Birds, a stern but compassionate father. Kiley frequently reflected on his own loneliness and the moral consequences of the characters he portrayed. He declared that the role of Don Quixote was for him, and even as he increasingly distanced himself from reality, he returned to it again and again, as if the stage had presented him with an unexpected dream. In the final years of his life, Kiley waged a silent but intense battle with a rare bone marrow disease. Without showing any symptoms or complaints, he continued to work until his health completely deteriorated. Despite his deteriorating health, he continued to narrate successful documentaries such as Planet Earth and The Secrets of the Bible, and his warm baritone voice continued to echo on television. John Hammond's character in Jurassic Park, 1993, proudly stated, "We spared no expense. We hired Richard Kiley, and this wasn't just a metaphor, it was the truth." Richard Kiley's voice was revered worldwide. He died in New York on March 5, 1999, just 3 weeks before his 77th birthday. He died peacefully and in agony from bone marrow disease. At the time, it was estimated that his fortune, amassed during his 50-year acting career, was $3 million. When the lights on Broadway went out that day in his memory, audiences not only mourned the loss of a talented actor, but also remembered a resilient personality who offered viewers a glimpse not only into roles, but also into the real life behind the mask.